The nation froze. Viewers couldn't believe what they were hearing. Just moments into a live political broadcast, a guest dropped a bombshell, something so explosive, so unexpected, that even the host was left speechless. In under 60 seconds, the reputation of Labour leader Keir Starmer was thrown into chaos. And now, all signs point to one thing: a possible resignation. It started like any regular political debate. The live program was being aired during prime time, with millions watching. The panel included journalists, MPs, and a former government advisor. The conversation was centered on upcoming election strategies, until one panelist, known for their insider knowledge, went completely off script. With a calm voice and direct stare, they said, "What we're not talking about is what's about to come out about Starmer. It's going to destroy public trust. And yes, it's real." The room fell silent. The presenter stammered, unsure whether to interrupt or let them continue. The name Keir Starmer had been mentioned before in scandals, but this felt different. This wasn't a vague rumor. This was a warning. A live warning. Within seconds, the clip was all over social media. Major news outlets scrambled to verify the claim. On X, formerly Twitter, the hashtag #StarmerLeak began trending. Within 10 minutes, TikTok creators clipped the moment and added dramatic music. YouTube channels launched emergency live streams, speculating what it could be. Political analysts called it the biggest live disruption since the Boris Johnson resignation crisis, but what made this moment so serious wasn't just the words, it was the delivery. The insider didn't sound like someone guessing. They sounded like someone who had seen documents, read emails, or been part of high-level talks. The presenter tried to shift the conversation back to policy, but the panel was already spinning. Another guest asked, "Is he stepping down?" No one answered. Newsrooms across the UK were on high alert. Staff were pulled from breaks, and editors rushed to prepare special coverage. BBC and Sky News both issued alerts within the hour, saying, "A developing story, possible Labour leadership crisis." Other MPs began texting political journalists. Leaked WhatsApp messages between Labour backbenchers hinted at panic. One message simply read, "Is this it?" To add fuel to the fire, a producer from the same show later confirmed that the segment was not scripted, and they had no idea the guest would say something so bold. "We were blindsided," the producer said in a deleted X post. The control room was in chaos. Viewers at home didn't just watch a news segment. They watched a political earthquake begin, live, without warning, and that was only the beginning. It wasn't just a vague comment. It wasn't a slip of the tongue. What came next hit harder than anyone expected. Just hours after the live TV moment, the truth began to surface, and the contents of the leak were more damaging than anyone imagined. Within hours of the live broadcast, investigative reporters started connecting the dots. What had first been brushed off as a tease or a media stunt was now backed by leaked documents, insider messages, and whistleblower testimony. The core of the leak? A secret deal, hidden reports, and allegations of internal party manipulation, all tied to Keir Starmer's leadership. According to a high-level source from within the Labour Party, Starmer allegedly authorised back-channel discussions with a private firm closely linked to government contracts. The purpose? To manage public perception ahead of the next general election, even if it meant pushing misleading narratives. Emails between key party members, which were later leaked to independent journalists, suggested Starmer was not only aware of the tactics, he approved them. One leaked email read, "We have Starmer's green light. Let's move forward before the press catches wind." Another message, allegedly from a senior Labour strategist, stated, "We'll shape the story before they can ask questions." Timing is everything. Even worse, a draft speech, never released to the public, included lines implying support for policy moves that contradict everything Starmer had promised working-class voters. The speech seemed to cater more to corporate donors than to the party's core base. Many within Labour saw this as a betrayal. When these documents were published online by two independent media platforms, chaos erupted. The Labour Party's communication team immediately went silent. No public denial. No comment. Just silence. And that silence spoke volumes. By evening, a second layer of the scandal emerged. An anonymous whistleblower, claiming to have worked in Starmer's media team, spoke to a respected online investigative channel. Their statement was blunt: the public doesn't know the half of it. This has been building for months. What happened on live TV today was the tip of the iceberg. The whistleblower went on to allege that internal efforts to suppress negative polling data had become routine. If numbers didn't favor Starmer, they were reportedly buried, or reframed, before being shared with the press. One internal memo said, "Voters want confidence, not confusion. Clean it up before release." For many Labour supporters, this news was more than a disappointment, it was a betrayal. Starmer had built his brand on trust, accountability, and transparency. But the revelations painted a different picture, a leader focused more on image than integrity. What followed was a wave of resignations. A junior Labour MP stepped down from a shadow cabinet role, citing a crisis of conscience. Others publicly distanced themselves from Starmer, calling for an urgent investigation into the leaks. Public opinion polls shifted overnight. One popular pollster showed Labour's approval dropping by 8 points in just 12 hours, the sharpest fall in years. Social media became a war zone. Starmer's supporters called for patience and facts. Critics demanded resignation, with hashtags like #Starmer step down and #NotMyLeader trending globally. As the scandal grew, whispers turned into warnings. Senior Labour insiders reportedly began urging Starmer to consider stepping aside for the good of the party. One insider said, if he doesn't walk soon, the whole structure might collapse with him. The damage wasn't just political, it was personal. The leak revealed not just actions, but intentions. And for many, that's what hurt the most. And now, the question on everyone's mind is, how will Starmer respond? When the storm hit, all eyes turned to Keir Starmer. Would he deny it? Would he fight back? Or would he simply vanish behind silence? What happened next wasn't loud, but it was telling. Because sometimes, a leader's silence says more than any speech ever could. Keir Starmer's initial reaction to the leak was nothing. For nearly 10 hours after the explosive broadcast and online firestorm, there wasn't a single word from him. No press release. No tweet. No appearance in Parliament. That silence raised eyebrows across Westminster. And sparked even more speculation online. At 6:42 p.m., cameras finally caught Starmer leaving his office. He avoided reporters, ignored shouted questions, and was rushed into a waiting black car. That single clip, his face pale, his lips tight, circulated across every major media outlet. Commentators called it the walk of political death. Inside Labour headquarters, sources described a total shutdown. Staff were ordered to lock phones, avoid leaks, and prepare for contingency planning. Some were seen clearing desks late into the night. One senior figure inside the party allegedly told reporters off the record, "This is worse than any of us imagined." And he knows it. Eventually, at 10:13 p.m., a short official statement was released from Starmer's office. Just 43 words. It read, "These are unsubstantiated claims meant to distract from our mission. I will not be commenting further until the facts are established. My focus remains on leading a government in waiting." The statement did little to calm the situation. In fact, it made things worse. Analysts immediately picked it apart. There was no denial. No commitment to transparency. No promise to investigate. Just distance. The phrasing, "not commenting further," felt like a shield. A political wall. By the next morning, pressure had doubled. Former allies within Labour, many of whom had once defended Starmer against Tory attacks, began to crack. One MP tweeted, "This silence isn't leadership. It's fear." Another, from a marginal swing district, called for an emergency party meeting, writing, "We can't lead the nation if we can't face the truth." Then came the media blitz. Morning shows filled with former Labour advisors, ex-ministers, and political journalists dissecting Starmer's every move. Some said he looked broken. Others argued he was stalling for time, hoping another scandal would distract the press. But one point was clear: confidence in his leadership was crumbling fast, adding fuel to the fire. An internal video surfaced, allegedly filmed 2 weeks earlier, showing Starmer joking about keeping plans off paper. Though the video was short and taken out of context, it confirmed the growing public suspicion something had been going on behind closed doors. A secret emergency meeting of top Labour officials reportedly took place that evening. Sources claimed that several senior members confronted Starmer directly and told him the party could not survive another week of silence. One person who attended that meeting said bluntly, "He didn't argue. He just listened. That scared me more than if he'd shouted." Rumors of a resignation announcement started swirling. Reporters positioned themselves outside Labour HQ. Social media exploded with predictions. Protesters gathered in front of Parliament demanding accountability. Opposition leaders, meanwhile, called for a full asterisk investigation and even a snap general election if Labour leadership collapsed. By the end of the day, Starmer remained mostly quiet. But one sentence, overheard and leaked by a staffer, made its way to every newsroom: "If I step down, it must be on my terms, not theirs." That sentence opened a new chapter in the crisis. Because now, it wasn't just about the leak, it was about Starmer's pride, control, and the legacy he'd leave behind. Now, all eyes are on what he does next. Will he stay and fight, or bow out before the party turns against him completely? The political clock is ticking. As Keir Starmer clings to what remains of his authority, the party he leads begins to fracture. The whispers have become roars. Inside Parliament, in the press, and across the nation, the question is no longer if he'll resign, but when the Labour Party is in full-blown crisis mode. What began as one shocking moment on live TV has now escalated into a potential leadership collapse that could alter the future of British politics. Behind closed doors, Labour's senior figures are already discussing succession. And Starmer? He's running out of allies. In the past 24 hours, at least 5 MPs have publicly distanced themselves from Starmer, calling for internal investigations or his immediate resignation. Key party donors, who once backed him with millions, have gone quiet. One insider revealed that a major funder has already frozen all future donations, citing serious ethical concerns. On the streets, the reaction is just as volatile. Protests have formed outside Labour headquarters in London and Manchester. Supporters are split. Some carry signs saying, "Stand with Starmer," while others chant, "Resign now." Even longtime Labour loyalists are saying, "We didn't vote for this." The media frenzy is relentless. Every hour, new commentary pieces drop, speculating about who could replace Starmer if he steps down. The most frequently mentioned names include Angela Rayner, Wes Streeting, and Yvette Cooper. Each carries their own political weight, but none come without controversy or internal opposition. Political strategists warn that any delay in action could do irreversible damage. The longer this drags on, one expert said, the more Labour looks like a party in chaos. And chaos never wins elections. Inside Number 10, Conservative leaders are reportedly watching with quiet satisfaction. Though they face scandals of their own, Labour's implosion has given them rare breathing room. One Tory MP was overheard saying, "We didn't have to beat Starmer. He's doing it to himself." But the most dangerous development may be happening quietly, within Labour itself. Sources say a group of influential MPs is already drafting a letter demanding Starmer's resignation. If the number of signatories crosses a certain threshold, it could trigger a leadership challenge under party rules. That letter, insiders claim, could be delivered within days. And meanwhile, public trust in the party is plummeting. A new overnight poll conducted by an independent firm showed shocking results. 61% of Labour voters said they felt misled by recent revelations. 47% believe Starmer should resign immediately. And most alarmingly, 1 in 4 said they are now considering shifting support to smaller progressive parties. Even if Starmer survives this, the damage may be too deep to repair before the next general election. Every second he delays adds weight to the crisis. Every unanswered question becomes a headline, and then, the final twist, one more leak. Late last night, an audio clip emerged, allegedly from a private strategy meeting weeks ago. In it, a voice sounding like Starmer's says, "If we control the story, we control the party. Everything else is noise." Authenticity is still being verified, but the timing couldn't be worse. If true, it paints a chilling picture of a leader more focused on narrative than accountability. Now, Labour MPs are preparing for what they call the final 72 hours. The next 3 days will decide everything: Starmer's career, the future of the opposition, and possibly the outcome of the next UK election, because when a party's trust is broken, even 1 minute can change history.